Story 1. I think most people will agree with me. After one serious relationship that later fell apart, you don't rush to start something new. It is not about hating the opposite gender or feeling insecure. You are just burned out. When you come to peace with yourself, you say, when it comes, it comes. A fun observation is that during this phase, you subconsciously do not notice others flirting with you and most likely avoid anything that could lead to a potential date. It is amazing how one ruined relationship can bring out a new character in you. Story 2. For one, dating is expensive. It is like a job interview. You are lucky if you are called for the second interview. Story 3. Because I have been single too long and I do not know how to stop. I got hurt for the first time when I was too old, needed some time to myself, and got too used to it. Now my first reaction to someone liking me is, leave me alone. I seriously need to sort myself out, but do not even know how to start. Story 4. I am happier being single. Being involved with someone felt restricting. Postscript. I do not experience loneliness. Story 5. As much as I want to be in a relationship, I do not want it badly enough to go out of my way to seek one. Story 6. I am paralyzed by past heartbreak, which has destroyed my confidence and ability to talk to people. I am shy and unable to flirt. Story 7. Because I live in a small town area, cannot move, and will not settle for a partner who cannot adult. The options are limited. By adult, I mean employed, pays their own bills, makes their own doctor appointments and goes, and is willing to do a reasonable amount of house cleaning, dishes, and laundry, nothing excessive. Finding that has been much harder than it should be. At this point, I am just over it. Story 8. I hate to admit it, and people probably would never guess based on how I carry myself and treat others, but I'm deeply misanthropic. Not the reclusive, self-neglecting, involuntary celibate who fancies himself superior to everyone else but only has his hand at 3 a.m. I'm attractive, very self-regulated, and empathetic. I have never had problems attracting a partner or maintaining a decent relationship. Most of my non-romantic relationships are healthy. I generally come across as someone who likes people and isn't hard to get along with, which is partially true. The thing is, even when I was younger, something in my brain just told me to treat people well, build strong friendships if I could, remain curious, make myself useful, but remember there is something seriously wrong with our species. I just can't bring myself to wholeheartedly desire and maintain a romantic connection with someone. Sex? Sure. Need me to overextend myself to ease your life a little? Not a problem. Being someone's long-term partner? No thanks. Reproducing? Absolutely not. At some point, I stopped pretending I wanted a long-term relationship for the sake of convention. I never have and will never prefer that for myself. Story 9. Well, dating requires a lot of time, energy, and money just to try to live up to someone else's expectations, and I am just not that desperate. Story 10. Be honest. Why are you in a relationship? I am not trying to be snarky, but I have found many people are in relationships for the sake of being in one, and it shows. Personally, I have found that every time I am with someone, I cannot stop thinking about when I can be alone. It is what it is. Story 11. I'm almost 30 years old and have never had a long-term relationship. With all the confusion and shame about my sexual orientation and still being unable to accept it, I see no point in starting a relationship now. Story 12. Not the best-looking guy, kind of awkward. I struggle with conversations to a certain extent, have low confidence and self-esteem, and I do not really have any hobbies or a clear career path. Just to name a few. I have a personality and a sense of humor, though. I get along with everyone at work and have a few decent friends. Story 13. Because I am 37 years old, but my body feels old. I am tired of engaging in conversations and I am bald. Story 14. Many girls I talk to lie and try to use me as their own personal bank. They think money is the #1 priority in a relationship. I understand money is important in a relationship, but the whole point of a relationship is to grow together and not leech off one person. Story 15. Many reasons for me, but I'll keep it short. When I was in high school, I just focused on school. I had crushes, but they liked other people. The guys I did attract, I either didn't like them, they only wanted one thing, or I was too afraid to go any further. Now I'm 21, and I've realized I don't really see a point in dating or relationships. If I want companionship, I'll spend time with a friend or my cat. Looking back, I don't even know if I really wanted to date anyone. I think I just felt pressured by my peers. Story 16. I prefer staying home alone. Sometimes I wish I had a significant other, but only at specific times. Most of the time, I want to be left alone. Story 17. No women want to give me the time of day here in Hollywood, Los Angeles, California. I live in a luxury apartment, maintain proper hygiene, have no sexually transmitted diseases ever, my own financial income, my transportation, all my teeth, and both my ears. At 42 years young from Maui, Hawaii, I'm not sure why I can't find a cute young woman who is genuine. Story 18. Because I am a man, I will be damned if I find someone who actually wants to have a conversation with more than one-word answers. I am also not chasing anyone to be interested in me. If I text twice with no reply, I am done. I do not have time for games or half-hearted interest. Story 19. I desperately stayed in a relationship that was crumbling. I was just dumped yesterday, so I guess I have been single since it has only been a day for me. Story 20. I am 27 years old and have had two really bad experiences. The first girl liked me after 2 dates but tried getting back with her ex. The ex did not want her back, so she came crawling back to me. The second girl used me for my money. I spent about $600 on her over 3 dates. Also, my mother was extremely abusive towards me and my 2 other sisters. I would like to have a partner one day. I have just had some unfortunate circumstances with the opposite gender that have caused me a lot of trauma. I am a nice person, but I do not think many women are looking for a nice person in this society. Story 21. 1. I do not talk to many people. On that note, I am not a good speaker. I do not speak clearly, and I do not have lengthy conversations. Story 22. I am unlucky when meeting and getting to know people on a deeper and personal level. They always have boyfriends, no matter who they are or where I go to meet them. Story 23. Probably because of your attention-seeking cloud scammer nonsense. There is no such thing as a scammer. Story 24. Easier life. Married twice and it did not work out. One-night stands get old and after a while have no value. Life is a wreck. Having a relationship to maintain when I am not maintaining myself is not going to work. Maybe I will get a dog or a goldfish. Story 25. I am scared to approach new people. I am not very attractive and do not understand how relationships work well enough to be in one. Story 26. The truth is, I feel like I am in love with the only guy I will never have, and I do not want to use another boy to forget him. I tried it and it was very terrifying. I guess I am too busy with my studying. Story 27. Because dating in my city is difficult, I prefer not to waste my limited time, money, and energy on it. Story 28. Too much drama as girls are delusional these days. If it is not about equality, it is about trauma. Too many red flags. Story 29. I don't know how I am meant to initiate a talking stage, and I don't know how to find a woman with whom I want to be in a relationship. I speak to the same 15 people who are all my friends or are in relationships. Story 30. There are times when I want a relationship, and there are times when I do not want to be in a relationship because I do not want to deal with doubts about whether I am enough, if I am doing too much, or if someone does not understand my needs. I wonder if I am good enough or pretty enough. I know my mental health affects me as well because I get very attached, lose myself often, and feel a little scared. Story 31. Because I am happy with myself, I want to spend my time and money on things that really matter to me. Story 32. I just cannot bring myself to put myself out there. I open the applications and close them whenever I want to swipe right. I cannot get out of my own way. Story 33. Maybe I am ugly. I do not know. Dating applications would have me believe that. I am trying to date, but it is really difficult nowadays. I have never even been on a date. Admittedly, I am not the most outgoing, but I can talk to women far better than I thought I could. So I am not sure. I am working on myself physically and mentally. Hopefully, the right person comes into my life. Story 34. I did not try with girls I was in love with because I am a coward. Also, I have too much ego to be with a passive girl who can be earned by being the one who insists more than others. I have the ego of someone who wants to be an active choice, not a default value. I know most of you will say that is natural, but that is not entirely true in real life. At least for me. Story 35. Likely because I do not want children and have a different approach to life where I do not want to settle down in a quiet and regular life. Not many people are open to adventure that will drive us to our graves ultimately, and that is okay honestly. Story 36. I have been trying to figure that out and have come to the conclusion that I subconsciously give off red flags when I speak. None of the conventional dating advice has helped much. The issue seems to be that no matter which woman I am talking to, I act in a way that is somehow a turnoff. I have been told, "You are too angry, you are too judgmental, you are too sad." To be honest, I think it is the fact that I have borderline personality disorder, and it makes me pretty obviously emotionally unstable. Story 37. I'm not ready yet. My ex was my best friend first. When she cheated, it destroyed my whole world. I can't imagine dating or trying to with the baggage I have from that. Story 38. Honestly, I do not seem to want what other people want. I have no problem finding people to date, but I cannot seem to find someone I want to change my life and settle down with. I do not like children. I know that makes me sound like a monster, but I just do not. I tried to teach while I was getting my master's degree, and children made me feel suicidal. I like to travel. I spend virtually every penny I have on seeing different places. Maybe someday I will meet a man who also wants to see the world and live like a nomad, but I am 29 and I have not yet. Story 39. I would say it is a combination of things. I believe not having an outgoing personality is probably the #1 reason if I had to guess. Story 40. I'm not sure how I can fit another person's life into mine. My life is very organized, nurturing, balanced, comfortable yet challenging, and most importantly, peaceful. I do not want to settle for less than what I have built for myself. Story 41. I have been single for 7 years, and that is not for lack of trying. I have concluded that I am probably either not attractive, tapped out, or both. For example, I spent the last year getting into shape, improving my wardrobe and skincare, diving into my band and other hobbies, and putting myself out there as much as possible. I also focused on emotional intelligence, being outgoing, funny, and nice, basically someone who is boyfriend material. I asked people to take good pictures of me at events. After coming home from holiday, I tried the dating apps again. I have previously met up and dated multiple women in the 7 years, but none has led to a relationship. To maximize my reach, I paid for the premium version of Hinge, £50 a month, and this is the first time I paid for a dating app's premium service. The best option I got in a month almost reached the point of meeting me for a first date, but canceled a few hours before and ghosted me when I tried to reschedule. Story 42. Because I am burnt out, feeling like my heart has been crushed so hard. I am working on being better and trying hard not to fall for certain people. Story 43. I have a fearful avoidant attachment style, and am only interested when I am deeply infatuated or lime rent. I have also socially alienated myself to the point where I have difficulty relating to people and forming social connections or bonds with them. These issues likely contribute to why I am single. Story 44. I do not have a job, so I am poor. I am too scared to drive far from my house because I have immense anxiety that I will crash and die. I cannot go anywhere because of my lack of money. Also, I cannot look people in the eye for very long without feeling awkward inside. Story 45. Fresh out of a long-term relationship in which the other person had far too much baggage and mental health struggles to handle that sort of thing. So now I am just burnt out, I guess. When it comes, it comes. Until then, I will focus on bettering myself so that when I meet the right person, I am ready to be a good partner. Story 46. A lot of problems, but to sum it up, extremely shy and reserved, heavily introverted, so I avoid most large social interactions and gatherings. Really silly and goofy, so unless others are somewhat goofy, they may find me strange. I have not been in a relationship for almost 2 years and have just gotten used to it sadly. I would welcome a new relationship, but I doubt I will find one in the near future. Story 47. I have not really met someone new, and I am not the luckiest person when it comes to relationships. My first relationship did not happen until I was in my early 20s, and it ended badly after a short time together. I regret ever being in a relationship with her. Story 48. I am technically single because the girl I am seeing prefers to take things slow and does not want to label our relationship yet. Before this, I was single because I was doing seasonal work and only in the same place for half of the year. I was also single because I had not met the right person. I had a couple of flings that I would have loved to turn romantic, but it did not work out. When I was 19, I was infatuated with people in their 30s who had sailboats. I had memorable experiences, including an exciting encounter in my mother's motel room. I would sometimes scare girls away with my conspiracy theories or rants about the Draco reptilians and the Nazca lines stamping the Earth as a human factory. I believe I would scare people away. If not that, then it was my brutal honesty. I share my true self very openly, which can be uncomfortable for some. Story 49. I am not confident in my appearance. My future job will start with a salary of $25,000. I dislike dishonest people. I cannot trust anyone. I fear that if I give my all, in the end, that person will leave me for someone else. I feel unintelligent. I am poor. I am not fun. I do not want to be ignored. I do not want to cry. And I have many more reasons. Story 50. I am not putting myself out there. As a man, this is basically abstinence. Every now and then, I go to some pubs to maybe meet someone, but for some reason, there are only middle-aged men and not a single woman of my age group. Story 51. I dislike this question intensely, so I will provide the answer I always give. It is because being alone is the default state. We do not come into the world with someone, and it is much harder to enter and maintain a relationship than it is to be alone. The question should be, why are you in a relationship? Story 52. I am in the process of trying to buy a house, so I am working to get that done before I let a person ruin my life. Story 53. I can afford to live on my own and am happy with my pets and plants. If I meet someone who is worthwhile, I will consider changing things up. Story 54. Because girls like to play with my feelings, I hate myself when I fall in love with a neighbor and old friend. Story 55. My standards are a little high and only attract below average women. But I refuse to date someone I am not physically attracted to. All I want is a woman who is healthy, not overweight, and has a pleasant face. I am not exactly a catch either. I am 5 feet 5 inches tall and balding, but I am told I have a nice face. I am working on getting really fit, well-groomed, and well-dressed. I buzzed my hair, grew out my facial hair, and put on some muscle. Now I am cutting to get six-pack abs and a toned body. Story 56. I give up on people way too easily. My finger is always on the block button. I still need to work more on myself so I can attract someone more in line with what I imagine for myself. Story 57. Because no one has time for a father of 3 who was behind the wall until this past April. Also, I do not even know how to try talking to women anymore. Story 58. Only one woman I know that I am interested in dating, and she does not care about relationships at the moment. I could keep trying elsewhere to find someone, but I do not want to meet new people right now. I am not going to date someone unless I know it will be worth the time and has the potential to lead to something long-term. Story 59. Not putting myself out there because I am still in the process of figuring out where my future should go, as well as unresolved mental health issues which I would rather not bring into a relationship. Story 60. I feel most content and in control of my life when I am single. I do not experience anxiety or loneliness without a partner, and I prefer letting relationships develop naturally rather than forcing them. While I acknowledge the positive aspects of relationships, I also recognize the potential for pain and stress, and who needs more of either. I prioritize my own happiness over the societal expectation of being partnered. For me, romance is optional when it comes to living a fulfilled life. Like any other passion such as music or the arts, For others, that might not be the case, but for me, it is. When making room in my life for romance, I am selfish and feel no need to do so. I feel no yearning to find my other half because I truly feel whole as an individual. Instead, I value love that comes from family and friends and even from within. I have no regrets about being single. Story 61. I have no social skills, especially around women. It feels like my brain shuts off when I approach an attractive woman. If I even do, it might be a self-esteem issue. Story 62. Choice. Before my success, I was not good enough for women. Now that I am retired and in shape, I have all of their attention, but for all the wrong reasons. I will die alone before paying for love. But God, do I miss cuddling? Story 63. There are many interesting people to have amazing conversations, share adventures, and enjoy time together. Story 64. I am not too enthusiastic about becoming legally entangled with someone who is a much more sympathetic character than I am. I would rather keep my ability to have a voice. Story 65. I like being single. I see what my married friends have given up so they can have children and spouses, and quite honestly, I am good. I like my freedom. If I want to move to a new state, I do not have to make a big deal about it. I just pack up the animals and go. Story 66. I have only ever had one relationship, and that was when I was 19. After that ended badly, I could not be bothered with relationships anymore. I do not do drama, and relationships are full of drama. I do not dislike the opposite sex. I have many good friends who are women, and my best friend is a woman. However, relationship-wise, that will never happen for me again because I do not want it. That is why I am still single. Story 67. Trust issues. I have probably rejected a soulmate due to my own paranoia, but I am just not ready to date again. Story 68. Not having a stable job, money, a negative mindset, and a pessimistic view of relationships, as well as overcomplicating things. In summary, I feel inadequate. Story 69. Because I am lazy, I do not try to meet people. I am older, so my circle of friends is smaller. To be honest, I do not want the stress of dealing with another person, even though it has benefits. Story 70. Because I can live life without the opposite gender and cannot think of any reason to have them in my life. Story 71. My last relationship ended after 6 years. I decided to take 6 months, not so much to get over it, but because after spending 6 years with someone, I felt I needed a little time to myself, to remove her things from my house, for example. After the initial 6 months, when I told myself I'd try to start dating again, I didn't feel ready. I was enjoying the newfound freedom that being single gave me. I told myself I'd take another 6 months. I have now been single for 4 years, and honestly, I'm still enjoying it. I fully admit it's entirely selfish. I enjoy having my house decorated and set up exactly how I like it. Since it's just me, I know that when I come home from work, there won't be any mess I used to have to deal with. I can spend 3 hours or so on a Sunday morning playing golf without being bothered about it. I can watch football on a Saturday without complaints because she wants to go somewhere or do something, or has made plans for us without telling or asking me first. And, God forbid, if I just want to relax on my day off, for some reason that wasn't allowed. Despite working 60 hours a week, wanting one day off to just lie on the sofa and recharge my batteries was unacceptable. So yeah, I'm still single because I'm selfishly enjoying having some space again. Oh, and getting my spare bedroom back. I bought a 3-bedroom house almost 16 years ago, 2 proper-sized bedrooms and 1 bedroom barely big enough for a single bed. That small bedroom had been my office space with a desk, chair, and computer, just because I didn't want it in my living room. Not long after she moved in, she basically took over that space as a walk-in wardrobe and moved my desk and computer into the guest bedroom. I'm so glad to have that space back. Story 72. I met someone, we became close, and after a while, she told me that she was discerning becoming a Catholic nun. After that, I was heartbroken and never pursued another relationship. That was 2 years ago, and I think now I am finally getting over it. Story 73. I fear they will hate me. I will not be interesting enough. If I find someone I want, I obsess over her and fear she will leave me, so I distance myself. then go into a push and pull mode or start to chase. Story 74. I was single for 17 years before marrying my wonderful husband. I owned my own home, had a great job with benefits, and was funding my retirement plan. I had a life I loved: travel, friends, activities, and a dog. I had an elderly aunt who routinely asked, "Wouldn't you like to get married again, dear?" I told her I wasn't opposed to marrying again, but I was enjoying my life as it was. I honestly never expected to marry again until I had dinner with a lifelong friend going through a tough time. We didn't think our first date was a dare, until it was. Our 20th anniversary is this summer. I wouldn't change a thing. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.